I am a police officer in the United States of America, and I've been one for just under 10 years. These are my stories. Have you ever had one of those weeks where you felt like the universe was trying to tell you something? Like nothing was ever going right? Like it was all coming to a specific point that was going to have an absolute terrible end? Well, this call happened the next day after the prior video that I just released. Man with a machete happened yesterday, and this call happened this morning. Now, I'm only telling you that in a reference of time frame. This call actually happened quite a while ago, but just so you know what kind of week it was. So I had begun shift, and my first call was a male outside the Crown Plaza Hotel, and he was beating on the windows, acting 1138. Now, 1138 in our terminology, the 11 codes, means a mentally ill person. Someone with diminished capacity, maybe a schizophrenic, someone who is acting very erratic, so we use the term 1138. So this person was beating on the doors, beating on the window. Now, in reference, this is 2020 that this occurred, and the pandemic is still in existence. So people are a little more concerned, they're a little more hesitant. There are procedures to get in and out of buildings to include hotels. Well, the front desk lady is not allowing him into the hotel, so he's extremely upset. So she locks the doors, and he proceeds to bang on the doors, bang on the windows along the outside. Now, at the time that I was dispatched to this call, it was about 4:15 in the afternoon. I began work at 3, but I had some prior follow-up to do on some prior cases, so I was a little late hitting the street. Now, my cover officer hadn't arrived yet by the time I arrived on scene, but I looked at when the call came in, and it was at least an hour old. So with that in mind, I thought this 1138 subject, this male wearing all black, dressed a specific way, would be gone. Now, we use the term G. So we thought he would be G. So normally, if some time has passed, an officer somewhat senior like myself would arrive on scene, and we wouldn't even wait for the other officer. We'd clear it because the guy is most likely gone. Well, something in my gut told me to wait, so I did. My other officer showed up, and we made contact with the lady at the front desk. Now, we didn't notice it at first, but he had found a little nook in a concrete corner at the front of the building and had fallen asleep. She pointed it out, so we proceeded to go over and contact this male who was laying with his back along the ground, his shoes off, and his head propped up against the cinder blocks. Now, the temperature outside is about 22 degrees at this point, and in December it's cold, but it's not nearly as cold as January and February where I'm from. So we go to wake up this male, and we try to do it in a very eased fashion. When people are woken up, if they have some sort of diminished mental capacity, if they have schizophrenia, if they have some sort of other mental disorder or cognitive disorder, or even just generally waking up drunk or on drugs, people tend to amp up extremely quickly. So the other officer who was on scene with me used his flashlight, tapped the brick right next to his head in an attempt just to get him to open his eyes or become somewhat alert. That didn't work. So I leaned down, and with gloves on my hand, I just sort of grabbed his foot and shook it a little bit and said, "Hey man, it's the police. We need you to wake up." Now, nothing was causing this male to respond to us. So either he's extremely drunk and passed out, or he did something like heroin and now he's in a deep sleep. A lot of times when you watch videos, they call it the nod, where you'll just start falling asleep wherever you are. So we thought maybe he was on the downhill spiral of either alcohol or drugs. So there's a few ways you can wake someone up. You can either do what's called a sternum rub, where you take the knuckles of your hand and you just sort of rub it across the breastbone. It doesn't cause any injury. It just elicits a painful sensation that really just cause an extremely intoxicated person to really stir. You could use the mastoid pressure point just behind the jawbone, or you can do something that's a little less presented as being aggressive, which is use something like a pen and sort of press on the nail bed of the thumb. This is what a lot of nurses do to wake people up, and I was taught how to do it by a nurse. So that's what I did. Well, the moment I did that, he woke up extremely angry. He sat up, he looked me directly in the face, and he said, "What the hell are you doing? Why would you wake me up like that?" I responded, "Hey man, we've been trying to wake you up for a few minutes and you just aren't waking up. We need you to leave. They want you trespassed. But first we need to find out who you are." Well, he stood up extremely fast. And when someone stands up extremely fast, extremely aggressive, with a sort of bowed up posture, that sort of means they want to fight. Now, it doesn't take a genius or any type of street smarts to understand when someone is being aggressive towards you, especially when you're a police officer. I mean, I'm not there trying to cause problems. I'm only there because we got called to go there because of his actions. So I tell him, "Hey man, we just need your ID, put on your shoes, and then you can take off." Well, he said he was going to kick my ass, and I responded with, "Hey man, you really don't want to do that." And before I even had a chance to finish what I was going to say, and I remember exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, "Hey man, you really don't want to do that because it's only going to be worse for you. You're going to get charged with disorderly conduct, and I just want you to be able to walk away." It's something that I've said to thousands of people on the street. Well, the moment I started saying that, he interrupted, and with his actions, it really caused the aggression to really peak. So he said, "I'm gonna stab you in the neck." And it took a second for it to register, but I took a step back and everything around me was snow. Now, in the summertime, normally there are sidewalks where he is, then a large grassy area that's right now covered by snow. And the position where he was, saying he's gonna stab me in the neck, all I could do was sort of walk backwards through the snow and through this grassy area. Now, some people make comments and gestures, and a lot of times what will happen is there's two of us there, so one person will go on lethal with their pistol, the other person will go on non-lethal with their taser. However, we all have seen those videos where people fight through the taser, and it doesn't matter anyway. People can get shot multiple times while running at you with a knife, and it doesn't stop them. The one thing the movies will always lie to you about is how people die. There have been plenty of times where people have been on PCP, LSD, or just amped up on adrenaline and meth, and nothing's going to stop them until all the blood is out of their body. It is a sad, horrific, and terrible thing that we never want to go through, but that is the honest truth. So I took a step back. I went on taser, the other officer went on lethal cover, and the other officer who I was with is even a trained negotiator. Because here in my department, we have maybe 250, 300 patrol officers, and a lot of us have secondary duties. A patrol officer will be both patrol and crime scene when they're on a call out. They'll be both patrol and SWAT. They'll be patrol and negotiator, or, the list sort of goes on with those specialty teams. Now, we still do have separate detectives and stuff like that. We deal with our homicides, our burglaries, our major assaults and stuff like that. But generally, as a patrol officer, we deal with most felonies and misdemeanors on our own. In fact, that's really something you don't hear about from a lot of other departments. I will go get my own felony warrant for strangulation and then serve it myself. So this guy, as we take a step back, I'm on taser, the other officer is on his pistol. He reaches for his neck, and around his neck, hung with 550 cord, is a sheath, and he proceeds to pull out a knife. Now he says over and over again, "I'm going to stab you in the effing neck," and we just continue to step back. Now, I can't say what other officers would do. Now, I was completely justified if I felt like I was in danger and I needed to defend myself. I would have been completely justified under the law, under the policy of my police department. However, the things that started going through my mind, which is really sad, is all of the videos that have been released over the last couple years of officers who are being chased with people with knives. They're shooting at these people. They're not stopping. The officer is getting stabbed. Then when the officer survives, the other person doesn't. The officer is vilified. They lose their career and they're left with nothing except their pain, their sacrifice, and their mental anguish from everything they've gone through with nothing to show for it. Not even a department to back them. So as I'm stepping backwards, I'm seeing all this run through my head. All these videos. It's amazing because I've been in multiple car accidents and I've been in very high intensity situations where time really does slow down. And that's exactly what happened here. As I started stepping backwards, all this stuff started to run through my mind and it was very, very clear. There was nothing hazy about it. I remember every detail. We were able to get some distance and we sort of drew a line in the sand. I went off taser and I went on lethal because a person with a knife, if they're willing to aggress towards you, I'm sorry, but a taser probably isn't going to stop them, and I'm not going to give them the opportunity to kill me. My job at the end of the day is to go home to my family. Their job as a citizen is simply to obey the law and live their life as I'm living my life. I don't want to be there just as much as he doesn't want to be there, but his aggression towards me is completely unwarranted. So we draw a line in the sand. If he takes one step towards us, we're going to have to use lethal force because we know the 21-foot rule. If a person is within 21 feet, they can get to you faster than you can even respond to them, and they could have a knife. We've done training in the past where someone has an electrical knife, sort of like a taser knife, and they will charge at you, and you'll see exactly how you have to step offline, circle around, move. The moment you freeze, even if you're shooting at them, they will still get to you, and you will die, or you'll be seriously injured at the very least. So we draw a line in the sand. Other officers are coming extremely fast. We call it Code 3 lights and sirens because we get on the radio. He has a knife. He's threatening to stab officers. Thankfully, this gentleman does not move from his spot. That's the only thing that really saved his life, was the fact that he chose to start listening. He ended up throwing down the knife. We ended up getting him into custody. Then, even after he was in handcuffs, he was kicking out the window, fighting officers. We had to put him in full restraints. It was a nightmare. Now, I can tell you that this week didn't end here. It didn't. In fact, another call that myself and this other officer, now we don't have partners. I am an area car. I deal with this area. There may be another car in that same area. We may go to a lot of calls together, but we don't have partners in our department. I am a single officer in my own patrol car. I even get to take my patrol car home. It's mine. It's issued to me 24 hours a day. I have my car. Now, I went on another call with this same officer. Now, the same officer was an officer that was with me on the machete call the prior day. And there was a guy who had made suicidal threats. He had guns. He had him in the car. He was gone. We needed to find him so that we could talk to him because it's our job not only to protect people from other people, but also to protect themselves from themselves. Because a lot of people don't realize that just because you're in a terrible situation, if we take you into protective custody, get you the treatment that you need, get you the help, you can come out on top without ending your life. So when we tried to make contact with him, he told us that if we ever found him, he was going to kill us and then kill himself or make us kill him. We ended up finding him, and thank God we were able to de-escalate the situation. But like I said in the beginning, it was just one of those weeks. Now, thank you for sticking around for this video. Thank you. If you haven't already subscribed, if you like these these stories, then please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, share it. It's really important that people understand exactly what goes on in the life of a police officer. It would be nice if I worked in a department where 15 years goes by and I never have to draw my gun. Well, the reality is most cities are very high crime. Most days I draw my gun multiple times, whether I'm clearing a building, whether I'm doing a felony stop, whether or not I'm rolling up to someone getting raped. And you know, it's amazing because in my state we have one of the highest sexual assaults and people crime in the entire US per capita. So because of that, we come across this stuff all the time, weekly. And in fact, we were just dealing with a homicide that happened this last weekend. And we draw our guns constantly. We're constantly put in these positions. And with everything that's going on in the States in 2020, now into 2021, it's a very difficult position for police to be in. You could either be put in an impossible situation where you draw your gun, defend yourself, and you have to take someone's life. It's not our job to take someone's life. We do not want to do that. It's not my job to kill. I do not aim to kill someone. I'm stopping the threat. There have been many times where somebody has come after our department with weapons. We've stopped the threat by using our firearms. They've ceased their threatening behavior. Then we've done life-saving measures on them, and they've survived, later to go to jail. But sometimes their lives are ended by their own actions, and we don't want that, and we have nightmares about it. So my job on this channel is simply to humanize police. It's to put the stories behind the badge. So if you've made it this far, please consider subscribing. And thank you for listening to my story. And I'll catch you in the next one.